Coming up on No Pulp, we've got an Elite Eight to break down. Maybe not for the first 3 games, but the final one made up for all of it because it was, well, one of the best basketball games that I think I've ever seen.
March is still happening right now. We're coming to the end of the NCAA tournament, though. We're not quite at the Juicer tournament yet, but we do have a classic regular season matchup, if you will. Me versus Ben Chadwick. We know who's taking the cake, but it's going to be a fun one later on. Stick around for that.
That should be a lot of fun in the Juicer. Also, we're going to go back and evaluate some takes from before the tournament, see if they still stand true now. Also, give you our plays of the week and final words. As always, it's No Pulp, and it starts right now.
Lane Kiffin is the same old scumbag who takes off for the next best thing again.
I have a man crush, and it's Caleb Wilson, Max. I love this guy.
Solano's in trouble, hit as he throws, hangs it up towards the end zone, and it's intercepted! Virginia has done it!
You can never doubt UConn. You can never doubt Gino Auriemma at the end of the day.
I feel like you could have blocked a 6'4" linebacker coming at you while you were.
Call or no, Holloman looks the clock, half court for the win!
When you got the best player in the country, you can really do anything.
Nobody expected DJ Lagway to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country because last year he wasn't good either.
First time, how are we feeling, Jake?
I'm excited to win the Juicer.
A century of utility is forgotten. The Indiana Hoosiers are the kings of college football.
Welcome in to No Pulp. Alongside Adam Avin, I'm Adam Gotkin, and it is an incredible time to be a sports fan. It always is.
Always is.
An incredible time to be a sports fan, but especially now we are through with, I think, the second best weekend of the year, Sweet 16 and Elite 8. We've got the Final Four coming up, but we can't look ahead to the Final Four just yet. We got to focus on the Elite 8, and what a spectacular end to it was, with UConn taking down Duke 73-72, one of the biggest comebacks in the NCAA tournament history, and the incredible shot by Braylon Mullins at the end to win it for the Huskies.
How spectacular was that comeback? I mean, I was watching with all my roommates. I get a call from a friend. I say, all right, guys, Duke's up 10 with a few minutes left. I'm good. I'm going to go to the other room and take the call. And then I hear, there's no way. I say, hold on, and drop the phone. I run out of there. I see him hit the shot.
Oh, my God.
We all go crazy.
You weren't back watching
no,
until...
I had it on in the background. I wasn't even paying attention. And then I go and I see it. And it was the best thing I've ever seen. I can't believe I missed that. Oh, just spectacular. What a comeback from the Huskies. It's such a Dan Hurley March thing to do, get his team there. And it's such a John Shire Duke thing to choke and lose. I mean, talked about last year, up almost 10 against Houston in the Final Four. This year in the Elite 8, 19 points. You fall in this game, and Braylon Mullins hits that game winner. Just fabulous. Fabulous finish.
I don't think it is crazy to say that might be the best March Madness shot of all time. There's the Leitner shot. There's the Chris Jenkins shot.
Chris Jenkins is up there.
But here's the thing. Chris Jenkins, Christian Leitner, their team had the ball. UConn had to steal the ball.
Okay.
Which, by the way, I mean, Duke on that possession.
If you
all you had to do was hold it. Caden Boozer's trying to advance the ball forward. All you had to do was just sit there and hold it. Just turtle on it. Fall on it.
Right.
And you're fine.
You don't have to do anything.
And instead, you turn it over.
Instead, John Shire was pointing. He was pointing, pass, go pass, go pass.
Yeah,
sorry, my hand's getting in your box there. But he said go pass. I was like, oh my God.
Shocker that John Shire loses again. And so let's listen to what Caden Boozer had to say, the guy who, unfortunately, for some, had that turnover.
I turned the ball over. I should have been strong with the ball. Cost our team our season.
What did Coach Shire say before in that timeout, before you guys were inbounding the ball there?
Just that we knew that they were going to trap, just to be strong with the ball.
Could not be more disappointed and feeling for our guys at the same time of, just trying to process what happened. I don't have the words. I don't have the words.
It's a tough loss, and you got to feel for Caden Boozer.
Bad.
I don't feel bad for Duke. I mean,
no, I mean it's a bad loss. I don't feel bad either.
As an all-time Duke hater,
I know.
Yay!
You're number one.
Did you hear the Duke radio call?
Oh my God!
Should have
been a technical
The shot
foul.
goes in. Should have been technical. That's the most Duke thing of all time. Classic Duke chokes once again, and I mean, this is now a serious thing with Jon Scheyer. He has not shown the ability to make it to the national championship game. Duke hasn't been to the national championship game in a decade, despite having some of the biggest names in all of college basketball in the last decade. Guys like Zion Williamson, Cooper Flagg, and now this season, Cameron Boozer.
Right.
Come up with nothing.
You know what's funny is I saw a tweet on the app formerly known as Twitter that said, it's not crazy to say that Hubert Davis at UNC did more than Jon Scheyer has in the same amount of time. It's not. He made a national championship game, if you think about it.
Hubert did beat Jon Scheyer.
Yeah, he beat him multiple times this season. He did it this season.
Every single year, Jon Scheyer does have a top 5 recruiting class, and he's had incredibly talented players.
Right.
They just haven't been able to get it done at the end of the day. And, you know, both Caden and Cameron Boozer, I thought played really well in this game.
I think over the course of the tournament too, Adam. And I think Caden specifically, because we know the type of player that Cameron is, but with Caleb Foster out this first couple games, the way that he played in this tournament was so impressive and showed that he can be on that same level as the other players in that starting lineup who, as a guy who wasn't in it for the majority of the season. So for him to step into that role and keep that starting role, just a spectacular play all season. He just happened to, you know, have the crucial turnover that cost his team this season. But up until this point, you can't say anything about his play. It was great.
You can't. But I don't want to be saying good things here about Duke, because at the end of the day, they choked this game away. It wasn't UConn coming back necessarily. It was Duke's guards turning the ball over. And you know, UConn did not execute in big moments. There was that possession, 30 seconds to go, and they come up with nothing except for luckily getting fouled. Like, UConn did not play its best basketball. Duke just lost it.
March Madness works in mysterious ways. Speaking of another team that lost it, and we know that this happens to them a lot, Purdue, who was beating Arizona at one point, 38-31 out of the break. And then what happens? Well, the Wildcats come back. They storm back the number 1 seed, who a lot of people has as their champions. I don't want to say we're going in order of the Elite Eight in terms of the most exciting games, but this one, the comeback from Arizona, was nothing to shy away from either. They ended up winning this game 79-64 at them, and the play down the stretch from Kobe Pete and everybody on that Arizona side, Tommy Lloyd has to be happy with his team performance. It was great.
Yeah, I think that Arizona out-physicaled Purdue and just flat out dominated the pace of play. One of my favorite college basketball, I guess, commentators, whatever you want to call them out there, Mark Titus, he likes to call Purdue your classic suburban AAU team. That they could do great out in the suburbs, but you play them against a bunch of gritty players, and they start to get a little bit scared. And Braden Smith did not play his best game. Neither did Fletcher Lawyer. The two of them combined for just over 25, or less than 25 points. They combined for 24. The guards didn't show up. Arizona is such a athletic, well-balanced team. They did a great job of getting up into those shooting lanes and not allowing, you know, Smith or Lawyer to really get anything going.
Right. I feel bad. Look, I don't want to say I feel bad for Purdue. I don't.
They're not as bad as Duke, but I don't
not
feel
as bad.
bad.
But I will say, when Matt Painter and Purdue finally got to the national championship a couple years ago, they ended up losing to UConn, who was by far and away the best team that season. There was such a big gap between the number 1 best team and them as the number 2 best team in the national championship. It was a great game. But this season, I kind of feel bad in a similar sense, because Arizona is among that top 3 elite that us going in tournament said, and surprisingly Duke was in that top 3. It was Duke, Arizona, and Michigan, and we said, okay, that's going to be a tough game for Purdue. I mean, look at the resume that the Cats have had and how they had to stop all those stars you just saw from Purdue, right? Average tournament win of 20.5, second amongst remaining teams. It shows how dominant they were and continuously are throughout this season, most in program history. I mean, it sucks for Purdue to have these winning seasons. You're always a 1, 2, 3, 4 seed, and then just get crushed by some of these teams that are just happen to be so much better than you.
I think Arizona is one of those teams, and we're going to talk more about another one of the teams that I think is exactly like this in a minute, but they have the ability to kick it into that next gear and blow you out. We saw UConn do that in the tournament in the past, where they go on like a 25-30-0 run, just something unheard of.
Doesn't matter.
Arizona has the ability to do that this year, and there are very few teams each season that can do that. But
they're clearly
with what Tommy Lloyd has done, he has taken this program to the next level this season.
Yeah, he absolutely has. I think, unfortunately for him, being known as a coach who has failed to make it to that spot, I mean,
you see in 2022 being upset by a 15 seed in Princeton. I remember that one. But the fact that he finally overcomes the kind of Sweet 16 fallouts every year. And in the Sweet 16, that's, I think, for these top programs, if you're one of those top seeds, it's when you get your first real test among some of the other elites who maybe might be underseeded. I mean, they lost to Duke last year. Like, the Blue Devils made it far. That is a very good team. It's unlucky for the Wildcats. But then this year again, it wasn't easy for Arizona. You have to give them credit where credit is due. You win the games you have to win, and winning matters, especially trying to get 6 straight in March. It's important. They did the job.
Yeah, and Arizona on its way to the Final Four.
It was so impressive.
The team that it's going to face, another one of those teams that can just flat out dominate you, and that is the Michigan Wolverines. I've had them as my best team in the country all season, ever since saw them in Vegas at the Players era, and they just flat out dominate Tennessee. I mean, this was a blowout, 95-62. Now, if you saw Syracuse beat Tennessee, maybe you could have seen this one coming, but still, this is a domination that you rarely see the likes of this deep into the tournament.
Yeah, it just shows how deep Michigan is as a team. I mean, just from top to bottom, and Jax Lenneberg obviously leads the way, but all these other guys who've stepped up, Mara center, who is just an absolute stud. I mean, I haven't seen a center be able to compete with him on really any level for a full 40 minutes in this tournament so far. It is so impressive what he's been able to do. And Michigan as a whole, right now, it looks like they never make the wrong play at him. Every single time they have an opportunity to get a shot off. Oh, Eli Cadeau knocks down the 3. Oh, Lendenberg, he's driving in the lane. He can get the slam dunk. He can go right over. You look at that. Right? Every single time Tennessee had the ball, not only were they not making their shots for the most part, outside of a couple tries late on, but then it was just too little too late because Michigan just kept on extending their lead. They never got a defensive stop, Tennessee. Michigan, not only were they doing the job defensively at the start, they came back on the offensive end and they dominated.
Yeah, this is the second time in 4 years that Dusty May has made the Final Four. I mean, I don't think we should be surprised. He is, without a doubt,
most
one
underrated
of the
coach in
best
college basketball.
coaches in the country.
Most underrated coach in college basketball.
He is an incredible coach, and 61-10 record in 2 seasons with Michigan, and his team just has the ability to go to that next level. 21-0 run after trailing by 2 midway through the first half.
Right.
Like, this team did not look that great in the first couple minutes of this game, but then they turned it on, and when they turn it on, they're unstoppable.
Dusty May was one of those coaches where, like, he was not the first choice for this job. Like, FAU to Michigan is a really big jump, but he was so...
He wasn't the first choice for this job. He made it to the Final Four with FAU.
I know, but
he was.
That's
crazy
by the end, but Michigan is one of those jobs where all the fans are coming out of the woodwork saying, oh, try and get Brad Stevens. Go guys.
Get the coach who just made it to a Final Four with FAU.
Exactly. But they got him. They brought him here, and he has done such a fabulous job. Michigan right now, I think them in Arizona, we might be talking about that Final Four matchup as the championship game.
I would stay away from that because we talked about UConn. They can always find a way.
They always can.
I think we, a lot of the times, can forget those other teams. Anything can happen.
Fair. It's March. It's March Madness. Anything can happen, especially in this tournament. We know the history of it, of course. So there's one team we haven't mentioned yet, and that is Illinois, who is steamrolling through their South region right now, and now finds himself, Adam, in the Final Four, something I don't think many people expected at all. Absolute dominance over Iowa, especially late in that game. Ended up winning this one 71-59. A Ben McCollum-led team with a guy in Bennett Sturts who has shot lights out all year, but the not only the offensive prowess of Keenan Wagler and everybody on the Illinois side, the defense late in that game gave them no opportunity to even get a 3 off, and that's Iowa's specialty.
Yeah, I think you saw a little bit Iowa get exposed for not being at the level of a team you have to be in the Elite Eight. I mean, this is a good Iowa team, and Ben McCollum is an incredible coach. He is the Kurt Signetti of college basketball. Anywhere he goes, he wins. But Illinois is just a next-level team, and, like I've said a lot, like I was kind of saying in that Arizona-Purdue game, the length and the athleticism of this Illinois team was just next level compared to Iowa. and Iowa just could not hold up for all 40 minutes of that game.
I was kind of surprised Illinois just made it this far generally. I thought that if Florida went down, Houston, would have been the clear path to go on a run there and go through the South region, find themselves in the Final Four where they were a year ago. Thought potentially against Duke we might see that matchup again, and now it's UConn and Illinois, which I don't think anyone expected. But I think when you talk about Illinois, I think the reason they flew under the radar, I should say, is because Andres Stojakovic, who's one of their best players, who was all year, was out. It was Keaton Wagler who carried the load. And he was one of the most quiet superstars all season. One of 2 freshmen averaging 17 points, 4 and 4, outside of that guy Boozer, who just lost for the Duke Blue Devils. So obviously it's impressive what he's done as a freshman, 25, and an Elite 8 game. Are you kidding me? It was awesome.
Yeah,
awesome to watch.
He has flown under the radar because the stars in college basketball this year, your Darren Petersons, your AJ DeBonces, your Cameron Boozers, but
where they all exit, or pretty outside of Boozer early on.
But Wagler is so poised when he has the basketball 100%. In his hands. He doesn't look like a freshman. He is a bigger guard. He's a bigger ball handler, 6'6", 6'7", something like that. And he has this ability to just calm things down for this Illinois team. And he is the guard that Brad Underwood has needed. And it's not necessarily
he's making his coach look good.
Because, this is not, I don't think, Underwood's best team in the regular season. I think that maybe some of his teams with Kofi Coburn, you would have said are better.
When he had Ayu Dosunmu as well. I thought some of those teams could have won a real runs and end up falling short from a potential Final Four opportunity. But look, 6 straight seasons making the NCAA tournament in a Big Ten that just feels like it's getting increasingly better, especially now with NIL, some of the transfers that are coming into this program. And not only is he recruiting from home base, but he's getting real home talent. And he's doing a really good job at him. It's impressive what Illinois has done. Do I think they're the favorite? Do I think people expect them to be here? No, but it's still a good job by Brad Underwood. They should be happy.
Yeah, once you make it to the Final Four, anything can happen.
Who knows? But you won your region.
Yes, very happy for Brad Underwood. He's one of those guys who's been around the sport for forever and deserves to get his spot in the spotlight. And it's exciting to see what this Illinois team can do and what Wagler and all those international guys can do. All right, well, coming up, we'll see what Ben Chadwick can do in the juicer. This is a big one. 2 big guys. Who can get it done? We'll figure it out in a moment. It is juicer time. We have, as advertised, the tall Ben Chadwick and the slightly shorter Adam Avin. I'm Adam Gotkin, the mediator of today's juicer. And this is a big one. We've got the juicer tournament coming up. The semester almost over, so Ben needs one to make it back to the tournament. Adam needs a win here and can't afford a blowout loss because then things could get ugly. But we'll start off. Question number 1. And Ben, as the visitor, I'll go to you.
Please.
What was the most entertaining region of the tournament?
This might be the easiest question you could possibly ask me. It's absolutely the East region. You guys just broke it down before as well. The UConn and Duke game by far was the best game of the tournament up to this point. And that alone could carry me to the win with this first question in the East region. I mean, the buzzer beater, you guys broke everything down. I'm not going to repeat what you said, but we'll take that game.
No, we're smart. You don't have
We'll take that game for what it is. You guys are very smart. Unfortunately, I'm going to get the win today, but you are very smart. But you take that game, the 19-point comeback, that is unbelievable. And I stand by it, the best game we have seen in this tournament. But the last 3 games have been absolute cinema in the East region. How about Duke's 10-point comeback to beat St. John's? How about UConn's nail-biter win over Michigan State? The East region has had 10 single-digit games thus far here in the March Madness tournament. No other region has had 7 or more. So I don't think there's any debate. The East region has by far been the most fun to watch.
It's interesting, and I think this is a tough question to argue, but the thing you kept saying that kept poking out to me was that the UConn-Duke game was the best game of the tournament so far. It had the best moment. It may be the best half. The best game was I think, Nebraska and Vanderbilt. From start to finish, are you kidding me? That ending as well, the shot that didn't go in, what are you talking about? The South region was the most entertaining because it had the most upsets and it had the most games that people thought wouldn't happen or things that were unexpected. I mean, obviously, Florida goes down. That's a 1 seed, the first one to go out. That was huge. Iowa, a team that nobody expected to have in the Elite Eight, unless you're my friend Jared from my baking class who had Iowa, is from Iowa, he had them in their Elite Eight. Outside of that, nobody had them there going up against Illinois out of all teams, and an early Houston exit from a Kingston Flemings-led team with all those guys who we expected to be in this position. If Florida lost, there was no doubt in anybody's mind that Houston was going to be there at the end of the day. You talk about upsets, you talk about March Madness and things being exciting and entertaining. Yes, those top teams are very exciting.
Of course.
But when we talk about March, what do people want to see? They want the unexpected, and that is what the South region brought us in this tournament.
He gave a great stat, though, that there were 10 games that were within 10 points.
There were only 5 in the South region.
Yeah, no other region had 7. There were 8 within 5 points in the East, so it's got to be the East.
But sometimes
definitely the most entertaining, the closest games. That's what's most important. So, question number 1 to Ben Chadwick. Question number 2 also goes to Ben Chadwick. First, which team was the most underwhelming last weekend? You'll get the next one.
This has to be Iowa State. It sounds weird, I understand that, because they made the Sweet 16, right, but they didn't make the Elite Eight, which should have been their absolute floor in this tournament, considering the path that they took to get here. Look, you take care of business against Tennessee State. I get that. That was great, as you should have. You take care of business against Kentucky. Again, a much lower seed and a team you should have dominated. Then you play Tennessee. I mean, look at this game, guys. They were annihilated by Tennessee. Tennessee showed no mercy against number 2 Iowa State. And then Tennessee goes ahead. You guys broke it down earlier. They get obliterated by Michigan. This was so embarrassing for Iowa State. One of the best 2 seeds, I thought, cutting into the tournament. And you don't play a team in the top 5 seeds of your region, and you can't even make the Elite Eight. This was utterly disappointing. I understand they made the Sweet 16. That's not enough for Iowa State.
Iowa State was not the best 2 seed. That was UConn, who now finds themselves in the Final Four
tournament,
based on the actual seeding of the tournament. That is what it was, just factually speaking. However, Iowa State.
I like the way this is going.
Based on the seeding, Jesus, it's not an opinion. This is fact. Based on the seeding and everything like that, Iowa State obviously a great team. But the team that everyone expected, or at least was one of the title favorites, or the biggest underdogs, I will say, in their own bracket, was Houston, because they weren't looked at as an underdog, even as a 2 seed. A lot of the 1 seeds that everybody expected, they thought maybe the Dukes, the Arizonas, even the Michigans, because of how dominant they were, that Houston would also be in that same category. But the fact that they lost and shot as bad and played as bad as they did against an Illinois team, we know how athletic this Illinois team is. But that's not the question here. The question is the most underwhelming from the past 2 rounds. Who was a big disappointment? Emmanuel Sharp taking shots like that, chucking things up from 3, and getting absolutely obliterated from behind the arc, while Keaton Wagler goes and has himself a heck of a day, dropping 25 and doing what he did against that team. Spectacular, okay? For me, it's Houston. They were the team to beat in the South region, and they end up falling short. Disappointing.
So I always like to pick my winner, not based on the answer, but based on the argument. I mean, you left out the most key piece. They were playing at home, and they still lost.
As well.
Didn't even make the argument. Ben wins.
Oh, come on. Boom.
You didn't even make the argument. That was
the argument's about
right
the game.
in front of you
on
a play.
They were.
I like the way this
That's
guy
a part of
hosted
the game.
I
Number
really
3. Adam, you get to go first here.
See, there you go.
Most gutsy player performance from the past 2 rounds.
This is ridiculous. If Andrew Sullivan's watching, I need him to
answer the question.
Answer
the question. You can tie it here.
Okay, I'm going to try. Look, the most gutsy player performance from the weekend was a guy by the name of Yaxel Lenneborg, who we've been talking about. He plays for the Michigan Wolverines, if you haven't heard him, maybe the best team in this tournament, who's now playing in the Final Four. But this performance we're talking about happened in the Sweet 16 against Alabama Crimson Tide. In this game, he had 23, 12, and
35-7. This is a Michigan team that was down 2 points at halftime. This could have been one of the bigger upsets, but what did we see? Michigan, a team that has been so dominant up until this point and didn't trail in the tournament. They were so aggressive from start to finish, and they found themselves down against an Alabama team that was playing pretty well. When I think gutsy, I think a guy who drives down the lane, who gets down and dirty, who does the tough job down the stretch late in a game. And that is exactly what Jackson Lindenberg did. He put Michigan out of reach from Alabama, and he took home the win that was needed to get to them to where they are now. And now there's no looking back. Michigan, one of the title favorites in the Final Four.
I'm going to keep it in this same game because, I mean, you keep talking about gutsy. Oh, this guy's gutsy. He's gutsy. Michigan is maybe the most dominant team in all of college basketball in the regular season.
Still need the players to do it.
I'm keeping it in the same game. LeBaron Philon for Alabama was fantastic in that game. I understand, yeah, he might not have been gutsy enough to win the game, and I understand that's the argument you could bring up here. But he put the team on his back right there. He was like Jon Snow in the Battle of the Bastards of Game of Thrones. Right? You know, when he's got the sword up and he's got the entire cavalry heading towards him. So he was the epitome of that. 35, 7, and 4. All of those stats led the team. Also led them in threes. Also led them with 9 free throws. He carried his team. Now, his team is not Michigan's team. He doesn't have the surrounding cast that Axel Lindenberg has.
Well, his best player is in jail. That's why.
Well, I'm not arguing for that, am I?
Same.
But he doesn't have the supporting cast that Michigan does with the Axel Lindenberg. He doesn't have that. If he did, they're winning this game.
Yeah, I mean, your guy scored double the points of yours, 35-23.
Right. But we're talking about gutsy performance. He
had the better team.
A lot of guts.
Gutsy is like how you do against pressure when you're the only guy.
Oh,
his teammate was in jail.
Correct.
Sweep here, 6-0. Ben Chadwick. Unbelievable.
I hear the ooze from the controller.
Who would have thought?
Nobody thought.
Let's take a look at the standings.
I'm so excited.
Adam Avin drops out.
Dude, where are you?
Oh, he's down to 9.
Oh, my goodness. There you are.
Up to 2nd.
Oh, I put your name in red.
I'm one spot behind in 3rd. It's okay.
My senior year is ruined.
But, yeah, Juicer standings. It is tight. My goodness. All right. Well, we've got a bunch of other fun things to talk about when we come back on No Pulp. We're going to get into some hypotheses of college basketball.
You're so distraught about picking the wrong winner. You can't even
things that were thought before the tournament.
He's doing great.
How are they now? Well, we'll break it down.
Dad, they took over my bedroom. Come on, come on. Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
With March Madness comes a lot of narratives, and we are going to bring them back into the fold. Adam Gotkin and Adam Avin still here with you as the tournament continues on. But Adam, sometimes there's a lot of things that are happening, and people like to talk, and throughout the whole season, these narratives are built, these rumors get built, and so we're going to see if they still stand today. So I'm going to toss it to you first and talk about the team Michigan, and one of your favorite conferences in the Big Ten, talking about how they don't win in March Madness. You still think that's true with a team now in the Final Four?
Well, you got multiple in the Final Four, Illinois and Michigan. However, the question isn't, does the Big Ten win in March? It's really, does the Big Ten win in April? Because that's when the Final Four is. And I don't care what you do in the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8. Oh, yay, the Big Ten had 4 teams in the Elite 8. Cool. You know what? They haven't won a national championship since 2000. Neither of us were alive yet.
That's true.
That is the last team in the Big Ten to win a national championship, Maryland, 2002.
There you go.
They were in the ACC then. Doesn't even count. No. Look, this is a conference that has gotten to the national championship.
Yep.
and they keep losing. They have 0-8 in national championship games since they last won. I just don't think that the Big Ten has gotten past that narrative yet.
They have.
Because this conference has to win the national championship.
Sometimes until it happens, you can't say that the statement's disproven yet.
Yeah,
It's not. They have to win. They have to take home the trophy. Michigan or Illinois, to end this narrative, I mean, we've name dropped some of the stats and everything's right here. 8 schools been in the conference, have lost in the title game since that 2000 win from from Michigan State there. So, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, this is a conference that is consistently good, but not necessarily great. They don't get always your Cameron Boozers, your guys that go to Duke or Kentucky, those top-tier players. It's not that often that they go to the Big Ten, and I think that is why this conference, at the end of the day, has not been able to get over the top. Now, can Yaxel Lendenberg be the guy who changes it? I don't know. I don't know if Lendenberg is the guy to change this narrative. To me, he doesn't give off like you think of your March Madness heroes.
Well, let me ask
he doesn't do it.
Let me ask you: if Michigan or Illinois hypothetically take home the trophy this year, do you think the one-off championship still does end this narrative that the Big Ten doesn't win?
Yes,
you think one natty is?
Yeah, once you get it, like you're there. It's like you talk about with coaches, like Scott Drew at Baylor. Yeah. No one's ever going to say he can't win anymore because he won his one national championship. Sure. So you get one, and I think you're okay. So I think the Big Ten still frauds until they get it done.
Until proven otherwise.
All right, topic number 2 in the No Pulp post, and I'm going to you for this one. Okay. Does guard play still win games in March? Is it all about the guards, or now that we've gotten into an era of more positionless basketball, do you look at the entire team?
And I think that's why. I'm looking at the entire team. I don't think that guard play necessarily wins in March. I know we've had dramatic moments. I was going to point to our guy Kemba Walker, who was on our previous newspaper. But look, Darius Acuff, who's the best guard in this tournament, I think, from a performance standpoint, at least for what he's done this year, how impressive he is. Everyone's saying he's the best guard that John Calipari has ever had, and he coached Derrick Rose and John Wall. What are we talking about? But look, I think all the teams now, the reason why they're here is because of the play of some of the other guys. Like Alex Caravan, he's a guard forward kind of guy, but wing. He's a wing. Keaton Wagler kind of proven himself as a wing as well. Co-op Pete has been the guy for Arizona down the stretch, especially with how he played against Purdue in the Elite Eight. And then looked at Cam Boozer. I mean, yes, they fell short, but look, I don't think they necessarily fell short by any fault of his own, especially on that last play. But the big guys, and I didn't even mention Yaxel Lendenberg from Michigan and Adi Mara, who they got down there. But when you have bigs, for the most part, you win in March. I don't think that the guard play is necessarily dead. I just don't think it is the key reason anymore as to why everybody's winning. I mean, look here again at the teams that are still here, the most outstanding players from the past 2 seasons in the regions. Walter Clayton was a guard, obviously, he shot lights out. I don't think for Houston you can necessarily say it was LJ Cryer with some of the guys they had on the team last year. Cooper Flagg and John Ibroom was the most outstanding player last season. Both of those guys, obviously, for their teams. And then you have a center for Reed and UConn. And look, besides Burries, I don't think you can say that Wagler's necessarily a guard either. I think you have so many players who fit so many different types of molds and what they can do, not only offensively, but I think because defensively, you're seeing more guys who might be on the smaller end, Adam, guard players 1 through 4, maybe not the 7-footers, but I think with positionless basketball and how a lot of colleges have gone away with zone and switching to man, and everybody's kind of picking up their guy based on whatever matchup they feel like the skill sets do. I don't think that guard play is necessarily the reason why you're winning, literally except for Walter Clayton last year, who had the most clutch guard performance of all time. Outside of that, I think when you look at this year, I don't think you can say that.
I think the one caveat is you have to have a forward who can handle the ball.
Sure, yeah.
I think you still 100%. Need someone who can be a primary ball handler, who can calm things down when things go crazy. But I don't think that necessarily has to be a guard anymore. I agree with you on that.
Think about, I mentioned that UConn championship when they played against Purdue. Why did those teams get to where they did? It's because you have Donovan Clingan on one end, who's one of the best centers all year, going up against Zach Edey, who was the other best center all year. So you have these two guys, right? That is why some of these programs with these big forwards and centers are the premiums in college basketball. Speaking of, let's talk about what might be a premium in March, if you will. Experience, Adam. A lot of these teams that make it far is because of the experience that these teams have as a roster. You see one of the old Duke teams from back in the day where guys are staying for multiple years. Do you think it's experience or do you think it's talent?
I think talent's everything. Just Coach K, get him off my screen. Thank you. Sorry, young Coach K just gives me
memories.
nightmares.
Yeah, I know.
Awful.
I know.
But I think that talent above all, like as it says here, at the end of the day, your best players will beat your worst experienced players. And I think that that's something that still holds true today. Just look at the teams that are in the Final Four and how important some of their freshmen have been. I mean, UConn would not be in the Final Four if it wasn't for Braylon Mullins making that crazy three to send them there. You look at a team like Illinois, Keenan Wagler, their best player, without a doubt, I think. He is the leader of them. Koa Pete at Arizona. He led them in the Elite Eight. Like, this is a point in college basketball where the freshmen are so good that these aren't even necessarily your best freshmen in the country. This isn't your AJ DeBonsa, your Darren Peterson, your Cameron Boozer. But the talent is that deep in this freshman class that, I mean, it is pretty incredible.
Look how crazy
with what they've done.
13 of 68 teams in the tourney have a freshman as their leading scorer. That's ridiculous. That is insane.
Here's the thing I think that you always have to remember.
That comes from these guys.
Especially ever since guys started leaving early, your best players are freshmen who leave early for the draft.
100%.
So I think that's where it makes sense. Like, yes, experience matters. Yes, you like guys who have been there for 4 years. But there's players that leave after 1 year for the NBA for a reason, and it's because they are that good of basketball players. And I think talent is still above that.
I don't disagree, but the only thing that I would slightly push back on is I think Duke is the most prime example of experience over talent because they are always the most talented and always fall short.
Coaching matters too, John Shire, not the guy. All right, we're down 3. One more to go. One more narrative. Does it still hold? Does March still have madness? Expect the unexpected in March. Is that a myth now? Or can chaos still happen? Look at young baby Steph Curry.
With LeBron watching in the stands, too, for that game.
Really?
Yeah, seriously, 2008. Look, I think the unexpected still certainly can be expected in March because I'm not even talking about necessarily Cinderella runs, Adam. I'm talking about any upset or game that you might not expect to happen. That can happen. I mean, the game that comes to my mind just off the top of my head from this postseason is that game with High Point and Wisconsin, which was one of the first games on the second day there. And seeing Nick Boyd, who I thought was one of the best players in college basketball, most underrated, just so fall short to a High Point team as a 12 seed that absolutely came out firing and ended up taking the lead. It was fabulous to watch. Talking about a team like Iowa, who nobody expected as a 9 seed to go to the Elite Eight. These things still can happen. I know everyone wants the big upsets, and I was on this show just a couple of weeks ago saying that the Cinderella run might be over because of the NIL era that we're in right now. I still believe that to be true, but that doesn't mean that the favorites that we think can win in March can't fall short. And the prime examples for me in this tournament, Duke and Houston, 2 teams that everybody had from the South region in their Final Fours, end up falling short. Yes, to good teams, but these things still can happen. The unexpected certainly still can happen.
Yeah, I look at the Elite Eight as a prime example of 100%. This because through 3 games, there are people saying, man, what a bad round. There's not much going on. But you always have to keep watching. You can't go into the other room and take a phone call like this guy over here because you never know what is going to happen until it actually happens. The March Madness is still real. You got to watch every game or else you might miss something.
All right, you got to keep watching our No Pulp as well because we're going to show you some of the plays that have happened from around college sports this week as well as our final words. You don't want to miss it here on No Pulp.
you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just about ready to wrap up shop here on No Pulp alongside Adam Avin. I'm Adam Gotkin, and before we get to our plays of the week and our final words, we want to show you our big three players, guys who we wish did not get knocked out as early as they did in March Madness. Here's my three.
Okay.
Tyler Tanner from Vanderbilt.
Let's go.
And him knocking down threes, hair flopping around, incredible. AJ DeBonza from BYU. I think he is the most fun player to watch in the country, so unbelievably talented. And Bryce Sanford, I mean, this is a guy who left it all out on the floor, taking on his former team in Iowa for Nebraska.
Shooting lights out from three.
Unbelievable. These are three guys that I just wish I got to saw more of this tournament.
Look, I don't necessarily disagree with any of these, but I wanted to try and pick different ones, so let's go to mine. I have Darius Acuff from Arkansas, who I think should be in contention for the #1 overall pick in the draft. I don't know why he's not being considered. He's unreal. Zubi Ejiofor, because I think he just embodies about what Rick Pitino's about. Such a good player, also so underrated. Can't wait to see him in the NBA, hopefully. And obviously, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Robbie Avila from St. Louis, who I just think is such a March Madness legend, or he could have been if the Billikens have kept playing in the tournament. I think these are my big three.
Yeah, I think there's so many other guys that could have been picked. So many players that I think we're upset did not advance. I mean, that's the thing in college basketball every year. There are only a certain amount of teams that can move on. And unfortunately for these guys, they were not the guys. All right, so we've talked a lot of college basketball, as expected, but there are a whole lot of college sports going on outside of basketball. Okay. And I have to go outside of basketball for my play of the week this week. I'm going to the Diamond. I'm a guy who loves my baseball. And Tennessee was playing Vanderbilt. Big rivalry. Grand slam. Walk-off. Tommy Gooden with a walk-off grand slam. The third walk-off in 3 games for the Commodores over the Volunteers.
Look at that.
Their arch rival, and this is a Vanderbilt team usually makes it to the College World Series. Not having a great season. They play at home against their arch rival. Back-to-back walk-off home runs. I've never seen anything like that. They were down by 5 going into the bottom of the 9th inning on Sunday.
I love getting out of our basketball bubble, but how is play of the week not the Braylon Mullins three-pointer
You put it in before
that
it
won the game
Obvious.
for UConn? You see right here, Caden Boozer, deflection. Mullins recovers it. Mullins, Caravan. Mullins again. It's good. Point three. He knocks it down as Bill Raftery says, major onions from Indiana. Major onions. Absurd. That's what he said, because he was having the same emotions that we all had, and Grant Hill chimes in and says all he had to do was hold the ball. All Caden Boozer had to do was hold the ball, and the Blue Devils would be there. Instead, Mullins hits a shot. Unreal.
I apologize for my co-host Bill Rafferty impression. I hope he doesn't do that again. For my final word, I need you all to stick with me, because when I first say it, you're going to say, what in the world are you talking about? What is the point of the NCAA anymore? Initially, the point of this organization was to secure amateurism, to promote amateurism, and to promote the student athletes. Also, to put on tournaments. They're not very good at any of that. I mean, nowadays, there doesn't seem to be amateurism anymore. I mean, these players are getting paid by the universities. And what rules are they upholding? Trinidad Chambliss is now playing next year. The rules seem to not exist anymore. When it comes to tournaments, all I saw when it came to women's basketball and men's hockey was how horrible the events were, how the fans were not there. They played the regionals in places where the fans didn't go. What is the point of the NCAA if it can't even put on good tournaments? It's a conversation that we're going to have moving forward.
We're getting feisty here to end No Pulp's Elite 8 episode. I love it. Well, let me get to mine. Teams ending play in March means another offseason is around the corner, which means we get to witness another Will Wade disaster class in loyalty. All the talk about this new era in college basketball with NIL and the transfer portal has all eyes on the players because they're at the forefront of the game. But the coaching world is just as bad, if not worse, with tampering and how it affects college hoops. And Will Wade has become the recent leader of this charge. A year ago, Wade left an impressive McNeese rebuild to try the same thing at NC State, a Power 4 ACC program. So just days ago, after the Wolfpack's March Madness exit, rumors swirled that he was planning a return to LSU, a team which he was let go from in 2022 because of numerous NCAA rule violations. So, of course, after the game, he had to set the record straight about the job. Take a listen.
No. Is the job open there? Huh? No? So why would, I'm not, listen, let me be very clear. I'm excited at NC State. I was hired at NC State to do a job. This wasn't going to take 1 year.
I mean, what are we talking about? Now let's put up the statement where he announces he's leaving NC State after 1 season to return as the head coach of LSU. It was also leaked online that he already reportedly purchased a house in Baton Rouge. This is laughable. Why should players take critiques from their coaches when they don't have any loyalty and chase the bag too? It doesn't make any sense. The damage is done, people.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
It's not surprising to me. I mean, as a childhood VCU fan, Will Wade left me and broke my heart. That's what he's always going to do. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in to this edition of No Pulp. We'll have another show on Thursday ahead of the Final Four. For Avin, I'm Adam Gotkin. Have a great one.